Hello, my name is Dennis Emmert, and I am a PMEA past president and the chair of the PMEA Composition Program. Each year, PMEA holds a composition program for PMEA members and their students to promote and encourage composition from unpublished composers. This year, we received more than 40 entries among 6 categories. You are about to hear the works of those selected by our panel of reviewers representing this year's outstanding compositions in PMEA's newest category, the open track. In this category, compositions could be for any genre or instrumentation without any prerequisites. The main goal was to encourage composition and to provide feedback for these aspiring composers. In past years, we have made every effort to provide live performances. However, due to unprecedented circumstances, this year's works are being performed as they were submitted electronically. We congratulate our members and their students on their accomplishments and encourage you to consider submitting a composition in the future. Thank you and enjoy today's performance.
Hi, I'm Abby Zimmerman, and I'm a freshman at Delaware Valley High School, which is a part of the Delaware Valley School District in the Pocono region. My piece is A Time of Emergence, and it's intended for a symphony orchestra. I started composing in January of 2020, so it's been just over a year from now. And my first 3 pieces are intended for a concert band, because I'm a band kid, that's what I'm most familiar with. However, I want to major in composition, more specifically film scoring. So with that being said, I need to have a good, strong basis and understanding for writing for all different types of instruments. And with the 3.5 years left of high school I want to use that time to develop my skills as a writer, to start learning and learning as much as I can in music as a whole. So I really wanted to use the time I have and take all the knowledge I've learned to bring to college. So in around November time, I started writing for strings instead of concert bands, and now I have 2 symphony pieces and 1 orchestral piece. A Time of Emergence has been my 6th and most recent piece. For the inspiration for this, it kind of was from a little bit of everywhere, I feel like. The themes of an amalgamation of so many different things I was just thinking of at the time. But as a musician, I know, especially as a flute player, I have trouble playing in time, but I can count no problem, I just can't play in time. So writing this rhythmically really helped me to start understanding how the rhythms for my parts in concert band are kind of lining up with everyone else. And as a writing standpoint, I tend to write percussion more as an addition to the winds or the strings, while instead in this piece I had a strong percussive backbone to really help me develop my skills in writing percussion specifically. The themes, like I said, were inspired from a little bit of everything. The intro I know was the 20th Century Fox intro. Other things were the Dark Knight theme from Batman. Any of the music from How to Train Your Dragon I most definitely was thinking of. I also was watching The Mandalorian at the time, so I had the Mandalorian theme stuck in my head. Stuff from concert band, and I know for sure there's one little motif in I'll Go the Distance from Hercules, and it's not even the part when he's singing, it's a little part from the horns that I really love, so I know I did something similar to incorporate it into that song. But a lot of my writing is kind of just different themes coming together to see how it all works together from everything that I would just have stuck in my head, and I think that's what I really like about my writing.
Hi, I'm Valerie Fisher, and I'm a senior at Valerie Academy at Erie Catholic Preparatory School. My song Losing It consists of a piano and vocal part. I really want to keep the instrument pretty simple for this piece because I want the listener to focus on the lyrics and the meaning behind them. The inspiration for the song really came from growing up and becoming an adult. You go through this awkward phase of new expectations as you leave your childhood and enter adulthood. And I really just wanted to put that feeling into words.
Too many goodbyes, too many late nights with no company. Too many losses, too many disappointments in me. Oh, I give it all up just to watch you slip out under my feet. Oh, I put it all in just to watch you fall away, just out of reach. Is it just me or am I losing it? Losing it, losing. Is it just me or am I losing it? Losing it, losing. Losing it, losing it, losing everything in me. Oh, losing it, losing it, losing everything in me. Build it all up just to watch you crumble down into the sea. Oh, everything I worked for, blood and tears, they were more than bringing me to my knees. You stand and watch another round as I go down into the sea, another defeat. Is it just me or am I losing it? Losing it, losing. Is it just me or am I losing it? Losing it, losing. Losing it, losing it, losing everything in me. Oh, losing it, losing it, losing everything in me. Losing my hope, losing my trust, losing my soul. Oh, losing what's left, losing my mind, losing every piece of me down into the. Is it just me or am I losing it? Losing it, losing. Is it just me or am I losing it? Am I losing it? Am I losing it? Oh, losing it, losing it, losing everything in me. Oh, losing it, losing it, crumbles into the sea, everything in me.
My name is Tristan Mcquitty. I'm a senior at Lower Dauphin High School. The composition I submitted is called Jabberwocky, and it is solo baritone voice with piano accompaniment. I chose these because prior to this I had written very little for voice, and I wanted to showcase my abilities as a vocalist and also explore this new form I had not yet practiced in. Also, to be honest, this was to build a well-rounded college portfolio since I am going on to major in composition at Carnegie Mellon University, and I chose Jabberwocky as my text because ever since we had studied it in 6th grade, I kind of fell in love with the poem, and I love reciting it to this day.
'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borogoves and the mome rats outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jub bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the mincome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. and as in a fish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, Callooh-Callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wave. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome wrasse out grave.
Hi, my name is Stewart, and I'm in the 12th grade. I go to McDowell High School in the Mill Creek Township School District. I wrote The Strife Between Two Opposing Dreams, and I used brass ensemble, I used string ensemble, I used a small percussion ensemble, a piano, and choir at the end. So for the brass ensemble, since it is a war piece, I feel like the brass can bring out a lot of emotions with the power, especially of the lower voices, with the tuba and the euphonium, can really bring out the bass of the piece, while I have the percussion ensemble, specifically with the bass drums and the timpani, to really bring like a pounding feeling into the war, to keep the tempo of the march as soldiers would march into it, and during the actual war to try to have some sort of backing that the soldiers would hear in the back of their head as they keep fighting, so they know what they're fighting for. The French horn, the trumpets, and the violins generally are taking the melody as the higher voices, and specifically with the trumpets and French horn playing a lot of call-outs, as would be done by a general in the army, as in the very beginning of the piece, it begins with a French horn calling with the lower brass responding. I chose the piano, which really only plays in the end in broken fifths, to mellow down the mood from the war as it ends, which it then leads into choir, which I brought out to really contrast the rest of the piece, as having a SATB choir really brings out a lot of human emotion of after the war, sort of like a regret, and then it ends on a violin sustain. I would say that I used the snare drum, the glockenspiel, as a way to bring out the percussion moments, as otherwise I feel like the percussion would not be interesting enough to keep up like a march tempo or to follow through with the war's 7/8 time signature. The string ensemble as a whole was to bring out like a background to the rest of the piece, specifically in the war piece with the violins and the viola playing a 7/8. It's like a repeating note that only expands into sort of a dissonant sounding fade into either a large attack or the end of the piece, the ending of the piece. So what inspired me to write this piece of music? I have had a lot of battles in my head, especially with COVID and trying to figure out my life, that it feels like there's been a lot of strife internally and some externally with schoolwork and figuring out a job and becoming an adult. And I feel as if it represents the battles that we take and undergo every single day of our lives, as we all have that sort of feeling that we need to get into something with a march, and we kind of have that feeling of regret, but we have to like push through. We have to go into the war with ourselves, people we love, people we don't love, and the fact that we have to fight through and push through to the next day. And then the ending is sort of like a reflection on like who I've become and how I've gotten to this point that I'm writing music, I'm a senior, I'm going to be going to college next year, and things like that, I have to take the time, and it feels like forever for things to really bring to realization. And then sometimes when you realize that something's over, it's almost bittersweet, almost regretful, as in the end of a war where, yes, one side won, but another side's dreams and goals were shattered and are going to be lost to history.
This is Tom Bassett, and I'm a band director at Dallas High School in northeastern Pennsylvania. The title of my piece was Sonata for Alto Saxophone, and that's a sonata in the Baroque style for saxophone and piano. My motivation for writing the piece was that Baroque music is my favorite style of music. I think everybody should know about it. I think everybody should play it. And unfortunately, that's not the case. It's often not taught, and it often carries a bad stigma with it. And so I want to hopefully overcome that. The saxophone, of course, did not exist in the Baroque era, and I think it's very important to have original music in that style for the instrument. There are, of course, arrangements of Handel, Bach, and other composers, I'm sure, but I think original music is the best way to go when possible. I'm a clarinetist, and so of course I feel the same way about the clarinet. I've written 7 suites for clarinet and continuo as well. All of my music can be found on my YouTube channel, and the Sonata for Saxophone, as well as other pieces, can be downloaded for free on my IMSLP page, just by searching for my name in the composer section. Some tips that I would give to any composer would be first to start with where you're at. That's advice that I got from one of my teachers. And what that means is start with the people that you have available to you, people who can test play your composition and can give you feedback, as well as start with what you can do, your abilities and your interests. A huge point, though, would be when you have people play through your music, listen to what they have to say, encourage them to tell you what's wrong with it. Always assume that there is something wrong with your composition and not that the player isn't good enough. That has been huge for me, is just getting over the idea that it has to be a certain way that I want it, because what I found is that in the end it doesn't really matter. You change a couple measures and it may seem like a big deal at the time, but later it actually didn't make a difference to the composition. So listen to performers and take in their feedback and change the composition. The other point that I would make is to stay true to your interests and what you're good at. So I'm good at writing Baroque music, and I love doing it. And I stuck with it. Over the years, a lot of people have been angry at the fact that I do that, or they've encouraged me to write in a more contemporary style, which I have done. I'm capable of doing, but I prefer not to. I've actually entered this competition 4 times, and I didn't win the other times, and I started to think maybe I should try a more contemporary style. And then I decided not to, because that's just not what I do. So again, I would just say, become an expert at what you're good at, because you can sell anything if you can convince people. And the only way to convince people is to know what you're doing, know what you're talking about, and become an expert. So thank you for having me on this video, and thank you for watching.
Hello, my name is Pete Deschler, and I am a music teacher at Easton Area High School. I conduct the concert choir, chamber singers, and camerata. I also teach music theory, voice lab, and instrumental lessons. The name of my piece is The Silent Choir, or Who Was That Masked Choir? I wrote this piece at the beginning of the 2020-21 school year. We were unable to sing in the school building because of the pandemic, so I needed to create some activities that we could do as an ensemble without singing. In addition to several other activities, I wrote 3 pieces for the choir. The silent choir is one of these pieces. It uses choral folders as instruments and body percussion. I have 2 tips for aspiring composers. First, find yourself a mentor. It is always a good idea to have someone who can give an objective opinion, offer suggestions, or just discuss ideas. Second, get your music in front of as many people as you can. Reach out to former teachers, colleagues, even local college professors. If they'll perform your piece, that's great, but if you can at least get some feedback about your compositions, that will help you grow as a composer.
Hello, my name is Brendan Baig, and I'm currently a senior at grade 12 at Emmaus High School, which is part of the East Penn School District. My piece is titled The Martian of Hornets. This piece is meant to be played by a symphonic band. It includes the flute, oboe, clarinet, bass clarinet, alto saxophone, tenor saxophone, baritone saxophone, trumpet, horn, trombone, tuba, snare drum, timpani, cymbals, and a vibraphone. Since this piece is a march, I utilize instruments that are common in symphonic band in order to achieve the march sound I was looking for. As a lover of marches, my motivation to create the March of the Hornets was based on my experience at my high school. Since I was, and still am, currently active and involved in the school community, I wanted to encapsulate the communionship and the hardworking ethic of EHS into musical form. I hope that is portrayed through this piece. Thank you.
my name is Aaron Caplia. I'm a freshman music education major at Slippery Rock University in Pennsylvania. My song is I Will Not Forget, and this song was made with SATB choir. The reason I did soprano, alto, tenor, and bass was, I think, just because I wanted a warm sound that conveyed my message. I think that the message was the first intention of mine, and then I made the music. And that leads me to why I made it. What was my motivation? My motivation was that I kept coming back to this thought. I would think a lot about, people do these bad things to you in your life, and not always, but if that happens, something tragic in your life happens, you can't stop thinking about that thing, and you can't forget about it. You can't let it go, and at least it seems like you can't. And in those moments, you're given an opportunity to take revenge on someone or something or whatever it is, or make an excuse or anything. And I think the moral of this piece is, will you? It's not necessarily, you shouldn't. It's just, are you going to? Are you going to choose to take revenge on someone, or are you going to choose to let that go but not forget? Not forget that it happened, but just recognize that your life can go on. And that's the gist.
My name is Matt Saracini. I teach high school and middle school band in the Hempfield School District in Lancaster County. And I also direct the marching band, the jazz band, and I serve as one of our music department co-coordinators. The piece I wrote is a woodwind quintet with alto saxophone substituted for French horn. It's titled Summer Episodes, and I wrote it in the summer of 2020 as part of a project for a graduate course I was taking through Westchester University. The piece was generated using a 5-note motive that is bookended on either side by the tritone. The goal was to develop all of the material from the piece from that motive, and then also to try to explore various textures and sound qualities so that the tritone over time, the dissonance would appear more stable. This is the first fully original piece that I'd ever written, and one of the things that I found really motivated and exciting was working with my classmates and getting feedback and insight and wisdom from them every week. That kind of collaboration I found really helpful and was definitely different than just trying to write something on my own. I'd also like to give an immense thank you to Westchester University and Dr. Robert Maggio, who was the professor for the course, and just huge encouragement and wisdom as I was going along and coaching me through things and making me think about things in a different way. And then also Dr. Sabrina Clark, who I'm actually currently in another course with her right now in composition, and just exploring all kinds of new ways of thinking about harmony that I never even knew existed before. So yeah, it was a really cool project to do, and we're actually going to try to play it with my students this year as well at our spring chamber concert.